Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Loki Review, which drops on Disney Plus. You're through to the pop culture universe as per usual. This is episode 3 review. This episode is called Lamentis. I'll be one of the hosts today. My name is Bogz. I'm with my fellow co-host Sol to this side. Yes, I got it right. And down this way is Sean. So, how are you doing today, Sol? Are you on vacation, right?
Yes, so as you see, different background here. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm not in Miami at the moment. I'm visiting some friends, having a lot of fun. Went to the Muhammad Ali Center yesterday, which sent Boggs a lot of pictures. I don't know if he's zoomed in on all the pictures yet because huge Muhammad Ali fan. See, I'm even doing
No
the wrong
doubt.
sides.
Ali Bombay, yes. How you doing, Sean?
I'm doing well. I'm not on vacation, but I am on vacation, kind of, sort of. But I'm excited to hear everybody's thoughts on episode 3. So let's get into it.
Yeah, no doubt. I just want to give my quick summary first up and know your guys' thoughts as well. So I think following a couple of funnier episodes, I felt this was going to be like more of an emotional reflection for the Lokis. And yeah, I just thought overall, yeah, I thought Tom Hiddleston obviously shines as usual. He's the best part of the whole thing, of course. I thought Mobius was missed, Agent Mobius. I think the best thing about the series is him and Hiddleston and Owen Wilson together, their humor and their back and forth and stuff. I thought that was missed overall. But yeah, Sean, overall thoughts on the episode?
I liked what they did in this one. It's not my favorite of the 3, but I feel like it was a necessary episode. So especially if her character, which is probably gonna end up being called Enchantress by the end of this, probably, if she's gonna be going forward in the MCU, then this episode becomes more important, which I feel that she will be. So I think we getting to know her, getting to like see how she's similar to Loki but different, I think was really important. I kind of agree with you a little bit. Morbius is a little bit missed because I love their buddy cop dynamic, but I can understand like you need an episode where it's just the 2 of them. As long as Mobius comes back in episode 4, then I'm fine with it. But to establish her going forward, I think this was a necessary thing. So I quite enjoyed it. But it's not my favorite of the 3, though, episodes so far.
Yeah, it's probably my least favorite as well. I just thought the story didn't really move forward. More questions than answers. We didn't really know kind of the only thing we learned about Loki was like he loves his mother and that kind of we already knew that. About the other Loki variant, obviously we'll get into that. Sylvie didn't feel like really learned anything. I thought the ending was strong as well, stronger, which they tend to do that. The last like 10 minutes of each episode is the best part. But yeah, so what was your overall thoughts on this episode?
So I actually really liked this episode. There's where I find it funny that you're saying that we haven't learned anything or that there wasn't stuff that like there was so many building blocks in this episode for the future that like focusing in on those were very interesting to me. It's like we're building a puzzle here and it's giving us little moments here and there to then get to the final full picture. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. We learned some stuff about the TVA in this episode, about the people working for them. So that we'll get into that later. And I think too, like the buddy cop went from Mobius and Loki to, even though she's Sylvie, I'm still gonna call her Lady Loki this whole time, to like Loki and Lady Loki. So it's a different buddy cop dynamic, but it was still interesting to me.
Yeah, it's fair. I think that's most people's. From what I've seen, well, it's like I think it's more split this time. But I just feel like every One Division with Falcon Winter Soldier and every episode that comes out is someone's favorite episode so far. Like it's just like there's no objectivity of it. It's like, oh my god, this was the best episode ever. It's just like every single. It's like, okay,
it's not my favorite, but I like
yeah,
it.
I'm just saying that's the kind of online discourse I see. But okay, let's get into the episode. So opening scene is obviously the Loki variant, which is played by Sophia Di Martino, who's from Nottingham, my hometown. And her name is Sylvie. She kind of extracts the information from about the timekeepers from one of the TVA agents, which is called Hunter C20. She explains kind of her mind control and how that works. And I do feel like that's interesting, though, the way she actually slips into people's memories and things like that. And it adds like an extra eeriness when she does it, because when she kind of takes over their minds, you like she goes into their memories and she kind of takes over their personality and stuff. I did find that quite interesting. And then it kind of goes into where we see Sylvie kind of she kind of kicks off the episode with a fight with the TVA, and it's kind of quite long, where she kind of doesn't hesitate to kill these agents and things like that. And Loki catches up with her, and then Loki they have a kind of short kind of fight, but you feel like Loki's learning about his opponent. He wants to kind of learn more about her and see what kind of what her game is really. And yeah, so we'll just leave it for there for now. So Sol, what are your thoughts on the opening episode? Obviously the seeing Sylvie with the TVA agent, and then her kind of whooping all the TVA agents in the opening scenes.
So the first thing with this episode that like got me on board with this episode is I really like the first song. That I was like, I don't know what this song is, but this song is pretty good, and so I Shazammed it to be, and it's called "Demons" by Haley Kiyoko. Never heard of her before, but I was just like, okay. And then when I was seeing it on YouTube, it had boosted because of the episode. People were looking for this song, and then also, I didn't notice it in the previous episode, but in this episode, because it has C20 at the very beginning, like they're having their drinks in her memory. She looks super familiar to me. And then I realized her name is Sasha Lane, and she's in the movie called Hearts Beat Loud, which is a movie that like a little indie film, had Nick Offerman, had Kiersey Clemons in it. Not many people saw it. When I saw it in theaters, I was literally the only person in that theater. But it's a really good movie, so definitely go check that out. So like that was like my main thing. It's like, oh, I like this song. Oh, I know who that person is. Let me IMDb to check who this person is. And then obviously I'm gonna like any of the action scenes. Like they do Marvel is gonna give you good action scenes, and I love too that Loki got his knives back as well, and just the dynamic between him and as I said, I'm going to call her Lady Loki this whole time. Sylvie, Lady Loki.
You can call her Lady Loki. We'll let you get away with that. Sean, what are your thoughts on the opening and her kind of introduction with a fight scene and interactions with Loki as well?
I mean, I think that the opening scene, I really enjoyed it because it kind of shows you how, I'm going to call her Enchantress because I think she's going to be call that at the end, how her powers actually work. Like how she's like slipping in, and she explains like, oh, if they're stronger mentally, I kind of have to go into their memories and kind of show them a memory and kind of like manipulate it that way. So I thought that was very interesting to see, like, and then it pays off even more so what we learn about the TVA agents, Minutemen, later on. But like her manipulating her memory was, I thought, very like she's redoing it a couple like so I can get the information I want. And then her fighting the Minutemen, I was like, well, she has no hesitation about taking them out. Like she actually had a specific plan of exactly what she was going to do. I'm hoping at some point I'm sure we will get a full idea of exactly what her plan is. Oh God, I'm sorry, the noise outside. But I again, her and Loki's interaction in terms of just like. Just completely different contrast of ideology and ways of going about things is just very, very interesting. So the one thing I would say I like about this episode is that we get a stark contrast difference between the two. So that's just what I would say.
And then basically,
same time too, it's not like they're taking themselves out. They're very loose with using that tool that literally eliminates people. So like they're going to try to take her out. She dodges and they take another TVA person out. So most of the time the people who are dying in that scene is that they are killing themselves because they're very loose with that thing. And we saw that in previous episodes.
Mm-hmm. And then we see kind of Loki and Sylvie escape to Lamentis 1, which is the kind of doomed planet that they're on, and they form like a reluctant relationship as they need to basically survive the kind of apocalypse that's going on. So there we see Loki and Sylvie kind of make their way across the planet. They reveal things to each other. You know, they have numerous conversations about, you know, their own agendas and stuff, and they're both kind of tricking each other to kind of learn more about each other, I feel. And kind of obviously Loki wants to know more about her powers. as she fails to like enchant him, and Sylvie attempts to kind of get Loki to open up to learn more about his emotions and memories, that kind of thing. So to kind of invade his memories, I feel. So yeah, I mean that happens a few times. They do kind of go across the whole planet, and then they kind of get to so they'll kind of get to a train almost, and they basically Loki and Sylvie con their way onto this train, and they have a number of quiet moments together where they kind of bonding in a way, and then they're kind of discussing their chaotic lives, and they have the discussions about kind of their families, and then there's basically a kind of it doesn't always stay at that kind of emotional tempo where she falls asleep and then kind of wakes up, and then he's kind of singing Asgardian folk songs, and there's more opportunities for him to do his physical comedy, and then they have kind of a funny fight scene on the train, again more physical comedy, and then they kind of manage to get off the train. But yeah, so do you have any thoughts about any when they're on Lamentis 1, any of their conversations, the scene with where he's transforms into the kind of older man with the old lady and stuff, and any of the stuff on the train scene you want to discuss or anything like that?
So in this episode, I had to keep remembering too that this is the Loki that is immediately in 2012, right after New York, the Battle of New York stuff. So the things that we know about Loki and the things he's had to develop himself, like throughout all those movies, like you can't, like he hasn't gone through that yet. So you are getting the moment in Thor: The Dark World where you find out how much he loves his mother. Like you're getting that in this episode. You're getting kind of like his softer side when he's singing the Asgardian folk song, stuff like from the other movies that you get to see from him. You're getting those in little bits in this episode, and to me that was really smart. Like you're getting to see that softer side of Loki. You're getting to see that anti-hero side of Loki, where he literally, this Loki that we have right now was just the big bad in New York. So I think to me, all their conversations were very interesting, and it was very more of a character-driven moment between them on the train and them on Lamentis 1, is that everything was like more informing on who they are as characters. And that is something I really liked.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, for me, it was like kind of like the opposite. Like that, we already know a lot of this stuff with Loki. Like I felt like we're going over the same ground. Also, that we've seen, Sylvie, how ruthless she is, and how setting the people on fire at the end of the first episode, I believe. Her killing people in this episode, and then she's trying to have emotional moments. Like I didn't feel that that sympathy for her story, or I wasn't that emotionally invested, because we've seen how aggressive she is with her fighting. And I just thought, her telling about a family, I just didn't feel the connection there. But yeah, I mean, some of the, like, all across his stuff, I mean, the Tom Hiddleston stuff was funny. Obviously seeing him with the, doing the songs and stuff, I did enjoy that. But overall, I thought they were quite long as well. Some of them scenes were on the train scene. I found myself picking up my phone a few times during these scenes because I was a little bored. Not that I didn't find the dialogue too interesting. But Sean, overall thoughts on the kind of Lamentis 1 scenes, on the train, anything that stood out? And of course, the conversation where they mention, that was the best part, sorry, on the way to the train, where they mention, that everyone who works in the TV are various. I thought, oh, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're moving the story forward. And it was just literally a minute conversation, and then they went off again, like back to the kind of bland stuff, I felt. But Sean, please, any overall thoughts on the Lamentis stuff?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part, is that, like, and it kind of goes back to our conversation about episode 2. I just think the TVA is not exactly what they're portraying it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we find out that, like, part of the main illusion is, like, all the agents weren't created, they're all variants. So what does that mean for Morbius, and what does it mean for all of them once they eventually, because we know they're going to find that out. So what does that actually mean for the TVA going forward? So that's going to be an interesting, for lack of a better word, branch for them to pull on later on. But other than that, I like their conversation. Was a little bit too long, maybe. But again, it was just an interesting conversation to see. And I kind of agree with Soul, to see this 2012 Loki slowly become the Loki that was killed in Endgame. And kind of him learning things, and and like seeing the contrast from of Sophie, like, oh, they told me I was adopted. She's like, well, I knew I was adopted. Like kind of seeing that dynamic play off, and obviously, the biggest thing the internet is latching onto is that we got confirmation that Loki is bisexual. For me, yes, it's a big deal, but at the same time, it's like, don't tell me, show me. We're in 2021. At this point, it shouldn't be a big deal that he's bisexual. It'd be a bigger deal if he actually did something with it. So for me, it's like, you get a golf clap right now, but until you actually do something with it, it's nothing. But I also do like the call back to Thor, the original Thor, when he's drinking. It's like, I like this, and he breaks it. It's like, another. So again, we're seeing a lot of, we're getting to sympathize and understand this Loki character and see how this guy could eventually become the Loki that we know, the original Loki. So yes, the scene is a little bit too long, but again, it's a little bit necessary. If it was me, would I have crafted a little bit differently? Maybe, but at the same time, the idea is just to have them on this train and them to actually get to know each other. Because I don't think this isn't again, Sophie's not dying. I'd be shocked if she did. So if this show, looking back on this show, probably like a couple of years from now, we're going to look more back to this, but like, this is just Sophie or Enchantress's introduction more than anything else. Maybe.
We shall see. And then they do get ejected from the train, and they walk into like the city. It shows the this is where, like, again, the last 10 minutes of each episode, I did enjoy that, where the kind of the storytelling, I don't feel, matches the interesting visuals and the story narratives. Like, for me, the storytelling isn't that interesting, but the visuals are great. So that's the kind of dynamic. Going into the last 10 minutes, that's the kind of conflict that I have with myself watching. But the attempts to kind of reach like a rescue ship to obviously get off the planet, which is, you know, in the middle of like an apocalypse, basically. So yeah, they're trying to obviously board the ship, but there's kind of a riot that's going on, and there's a crowd, you know, everyone's going crazy and stuff. And then I noticed a lot of it was single take stuff, which is interesting. So a lot of the fight scenes, you know, going through the corridors, again, looks really great. And then the kind of closing images where Loki and Sylvie kind of abruptly kind of look up at the ship, and there's like a hopelessness there of it as it kind of ship is destroyed or something. So cool action scenes, you know, visual kind of looks great. But again, a bit of an abrupt finish for me. But like I said, some cool fight scenes and stuff. So do you have any thoughts on the kind of ending of this episode, and the kind of fight scenes that they have, and they seem to be stuck, seemingly?
Yeah, visually, like you said, it was stunning. I feel like this was probably shot in the void. They said that all the things that they used for Mandalorian, that they were using that on this show in Loki. And I think we're seeing that in this episode, and probably also in previous episodes on some stuff. But so it was amazing to look at. The fight scenes were really cool. With me, it was an abrupt end, and that's probably my criticism of this episode, is probably that it ended abruptly. It's giving you that cliffhanger. But I think at the same time, too, they're like, oh, we want you to come back to the episode next week. And when this is now bingeable after all the episodes come out, it won't be we have to wait now to see what actually happens. Because we know they're getting off the planet because he's the main character. So it's one of those moments of like, you worry about how they're going to get off, but you're not really worried for them because they're the main character. And so they're in an apocalypse situation, and that's always super hard as a creator to make that interesting on like, how are they going to get off this planet kind of thing. And so that's probably where I was at, where it's just like the fight scenes and the visuals were super interesting, but this is probably like the least interesting part of the episode for me, where I really liked the dialogue from earlier. So I'm the complete opposite of you on this, Bogz.
Yeah, because I don't know, just the dialogue in the previous episodes I didn't like either, but it was more interesting because you're learning about the TVA stuff, and you know, clearly Loki's trying to be manipulated. I just thought this was like, obviously we'll give our you know, summary afterwards and theories and stuff, but I just thought this, you didn't learn anything. Like, you don't need to watch this episode. to kind of to keep up with the MCU. I just felt it was a bit of a nothing thing. Yeah, some parts look great. Some parts were funny, but I just thought it was a bit of a kind of surface level episode. But Sean, what is your overall thoughts on the ending? That kind of cool fight scenes that are happening through the streets. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, like, again, props to Marvel and Disney for visually spending the money to make the show look like it's a movie. That's the only I think that's the thing we can all agree on, is that visually all three of these shows would just look amazing.
Sure.
They could easily just be on the big screen. But I kind of agree with Soul in the sense that, like, the drama that they're building towards is a little hollow, because yes, it's an apocalypse going on, but I'm not worried about Enchantress and Loki whatsoever. Like, I know they're gonna make it out. So leaving on that cliffhanger just is not like, oh my god, are they gonna make it? So it would have been better for me if they would have. It's more interesting to see how they're gonna get off, not if they're gonna get off the asteroid or whatever, or the planet. So, like, them trying to find different ways, like, that was the most interesting thing. Like, oh, how are we gonna get off this? Let's try the train. Let's do this. Like, that's more interesting to me than them like, oh my god, are we gonna get off or not? It's like, yeah, I know you're gonna get off, but it's how you're going to do it is more. So I wish they would more focus on that, and leaving it on the cliffhanger, just like, yeah. I'm hoping that just not a portal just opens up and they're like, haha, here we go, just pluck them back out. Like, I hope it's not that easy, especially if you end on a cliffhanger and you just resolve it just like that in the next episode, which they probably
watch.
will
That's
do.
gonna be the opening scene next episode. I'm gonna be so mad.
I would be too if like you end on a cliffhanger and then you just like a portal of drama over.
I was thinking maybe he has the charger, because the other one was like an illusion, the broken one. Maybe I think maybe he might have the charger thing that they open the portal with, because he does kind of lie about things like that. But just give overall thought on the episode summary. I mean, for me, Hiddleston's such a great performer that he does no wrong as Loki.
That's true.
But I feel like they're trying to make him a good guy. I'm not 100% sure why. He's such a cool, interesting character as a villain. We've seen kind of the long journey around him to be a good guy, kind of, in the current kind of timeline. So I don't know why they're trying to force it on us so much, where you learn about his family so much. He's already a cool enough character that I just find it frustrating. And I feel like the potential, the possibilities of the whole series is being subversed due to the actual storytelling that they're telling. Like, the creativity is, for me, I don't know, there's some kind of weird conflict going on, which, like, I don't know what this show's about. Like, where's the story going? A little frustrating. But apparently I did read some, or I don't know if it was an interview or an article with Tom Hiddleston saying from the 4th episode it's a complete 180 on this series. So we'll see. Big things expected next episode, but so far right now, I'm like, for me, I don't need to watch this series to keep up with the MCU like this. So particularly this episode, like, I was like, for me, it's a miss. This episode, like, it wasn't, I didn't hate it, but it was just like, like, really, like, I was looking forward to it. I was waiting for the minute for it to come out, and it was just a bit of a nothing episode. By the next day, I completely forgot about it. But yeah, that's my overall. So if I'm gonna rate it, this episode, I'd give it like, honestly, I'd give it like a 5.5, maybe a 6. Not a bad episode, but it was just like a bit of an empty one for me. But so please, any final thoughts on this episode? If you want to give a ranking or any theories you want to give as well.
I think the most important part about this episode was the very beginning, and then learning that everyone at the TVA who's working are variants. And I think those are two very important things that were dropped in this episode. And the rest was just Loki and Lady Loki, Sylvie, Enchantress. If she may be that's the least of maybe of the three.
No, I think that's almost a definite. I think she's gonna be calling.
Okay, Sean. but anyways, like, so with that, it's just like, I thought those were just like, it was character building moments. This was not a moving the story forward episode for me. This was a character episode for me, and I like character episodes. Not every episode can be a character episode. So, like, next episode, the story needs to move forward for me, for it to be like a good series, and so far it's a really good series for me. I actually of the three, I know I called it last time with Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I think this one's my favorite of the three so far. So I think this episode I put it at like a 7, like an even 7.
Yeah, that's fair. I do agree that this was more of a character-driven episode, but for me, I don't know. I keep going on about it, but it is the character stuff that is happening is uninteresting. And I think that's what it comes down to. I think you summarized it well there. Like, do you like the Loki and Sylvie stuff or not? I think that's what it comes down to. For me, I don't. But yeah, that's why I gave my kind of review. But Sean, overall thoughts on the episode? Any ranking? Any theories? Let us know. What is that train in the background?
That's a plane. But I hear what you're saying, Bogz. But for me, I view it as the same way I kind of view the Captain Marvel movie, where it's not my favorite MCU movie, but it does give you a good sense of who Captain Danvers is, and that's important going forward. I think this episode specifically is a good. You can view it as this is us getting to learn Sylvie's backstory and get to learn and understand her going forward. So you could look back on this episode like, oh, that's where we kind of really got an introduction to her. And the fact that, I agree with you a little bit that, yes, they are kind of pushing Loki more from an anti-hero into a hero, but I think they're also kind of because this is his show, I think they're trying to twist it where, yes, he's the villain, but Sophie is the villain, and now kind of flipping it, where then she's the ruthless one. He's kind of teaching her, exactly, you don't have to be as ruthless. You could just be more cunning and sophisticated and things like that in terms of how you want to do things. So
be classy, evil.
Yeah. You don't have to twirl your mustache evil. There's other ways of doing it. Just manipulate people like I'm doing with Mobius, or trying to. So I get what they're trying to do. Again, in this episode, it just felt a little clunky is not the right word. It felt like the episode was dragging. I think that's a better word. It just felt dragging. But again, I think it's necessary dragging. It's necessary dragging.
I don't agree.
Well, we that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. But I would give this.
And I think too, I like character stuff. I really do.
I do too.
I can watch movies of two people sitting in a room, talk, and that stuff is interesting to me. Whereas it's not always interesting to other people. So I guess that's why it's two people sitting down in a train having a conversation. That's interesting to me. Because of what they're saying. Yes. I'm just a weird person.
Yes. No, you're not. But I think it's not weird because I think it's gonna pay off later on. If we got to know all about her and then she ends up dying, what's her name in Falcon and Winter Soldier, we spent a lot of this time sympathizing about what's her name, and then she ends up dying. So it's well, what was the point of that? Then maybe I would agree with you. But I think Sylvie is not going to die. So I think all this is really gonna pay off going forward. So that's why I'm I'll sit through this long conversation. Yes, it's interesting, but it's too long because I know it's probably going to go somewhere. So, but I will give the same score as you. I think it's a 7. So
this time you didn't need more.
No.
You always need more.
No, I needed less of... Again, it's weird. I needed less, but I'm happy with what I got, but I could have gotten more. It's a weird feeling watching because I watched it.
We're right.
I watched it twice, and I'm I just don't know how I feel about this episode. I don't know how I feel about it, so I'm just gonna say 7. It was okay. Visually, it looked great, but I want Morbius back, and I want to get to the meat of it. Again, all this is necessary. It's ground. They're building the foundation, but. Let's get to the meat. We only got 3 more episodes. Yeah. 3 more. So. And
I think that's the thing too, is that we know that it's only 6 episodes. So if it was a longer season, we can have moments like these and be and that's where I take your guys' criticism of the show, of this episode, and I'm okay, that does make sense because we only have 6. And so they're going to have to ramp things up. It's the same of for most of Falcon and Winter Soldier, I was really liked what was going on because I like slow paced things because I guess I like things drawn out. So anyways, but and like learning more and more details, but then it's like, okay, there's an episode left or there's 2 episodes left, and it's just like you got to wrap all this stuff up, and that's why Falcon and Winter Soldier like ended bad for me, whereas like all the way up until the end I really liked it, and then it ended bad because like we're so slow with some things which I liked that they didn't have enough time to do everything at the end. So I hope that doesn't happen here with Loki, because we only have 3 episodes.
Well, yeah, also because I think Falcon and Winter Soldier had a lot of work to do in that final episode, and then certain things got shortchanged because they had so much things to cover, and we like certain things that they had to do, which I'm hoping Loki. A, that doesn't happen, and B, that I think one of the reasons it may not happen because we're most likely going to get a season 2. So I think not everything is going to have to be resolved, and I don't want it to be in this season. Like, I'm hoping all those branches, some of them are still around, so they can deal with that stuff in season 2. But I'm just hoping that...
Or Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange.
Like this is going to be... This thing has tentacles and branches, for pun intended. So, but I just want... I don't want this, like, episode 6 to feel like, oh, we got to jam a lot of things in, and it feel crowded and underwhelming, so...
And underneath an airplane. But mixed bag here from everyone, so mixed thoughts. But yeah, I think all in agreement where we need big things for the story in the next episode, hopefully, to move forward, because there is a lot to cover. Like you said about Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, we're talking about multiverses, we're talking about different timelines here, we're talking about what's happening with Loki, so lots to cover. So hopefully a really, really good episode next week. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Everyone watching, please let us know. Drop it in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. We also have Bad Batch weekly episode reviews. That's about midway point of the series now. We've got other trailer reactions, reviews coming, so come along for the journey, and we'll see you on the next episode.